What is up, everybody? Savage Burning here, and I'm bringing you another Call of Duty Search and Destroy and Express. I know I do really well, and actually, I moved into the top 25. I don't know if I put that last match or last commentary, but as you can see now, I'm rank 13 as of this video posting, or as of this video being recorded, excuse me. But now I've moved up into the top 10, and I'm shooting for number 1. I'm thinking about doing a live stream about it. I'm now rank 7, I want to say. And I want to shoot for number 1. I've got like 2 days left before the season ends, and then we'll have another placement round. But today I want to talk about something a little more on the serious side. I want to talk about what's happening in Syria. So for those of you who don't know, Syria has allegedly used chemical weapons on their citizens. Now this is a big no-no both in the UN and in just the world in general. You don't want to see chemical weapons used on civilians, and I've done a little bit of research, so let me just talk about the research I've done before I get into my speculation. So from the research I've done, the big people pushing to go to war in Syria basically is the US now, and everyone else seems kind of skeptical of this. Everyone's like, are you sure you want to do this? We don't need another repeat of Iraq, Iran, where they allegedly had weapons of mass destruction. Turns out they didn't. So the world's kind of behind us, kind of not. Like, I know France was going in with us. The UN is sending some people in. But right now there's a team from the United Nations in Syria investigating whether or not chemical weapons were used on the civilians. Because the regime that is now in power claims that it was the rebels that were using it. Now, we're not getting involved by definition. Now, you can have all the theories you want. By definition, we're not getting involved for political reasons. We're getting involved solely because of the fact that chemical weapons were used, and that violates all kinds of things. I think they were talking about how it violates, like, the Geneva Convention, stuff like that. I'm not 100% on that, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's what they said. And so they got a team over there investigating to make sure that chemical weapons were indeed used by the regime on civilians. Now that's another big thing, is it's on civilians. Now, not everyone is like, gung-ho, let's go get Syria. One big one is Russia. Russia's not all into that. Russia indeed has said that they will protect their friends and allies in Syria, and they will not necessarily go to war, because no one wants to fight with Russia, but they will protect Russia and the regime in a political sense, at least for now. Now this could escalate. This could turn into Russia, coming to their aid in war. Like, that would not be good. That'd be pretty bad. Never fight a land war in like Russia and Asia. That's like rule number 1 of like war. But that's pretty big. That's like a superpower going to their aid. And the big thing has been the skepticism around the issue. Has chemical warfare been used? If so, by which side? And was it on civilians, or was it on military, or what actually happened is what that team is in there for. Now, we were talking about it a little bit in class too, and in class we had this really great discussion about where the information comes from. I know the UN is asking for all information that any country has on the subject, like, come forward. Like, the United States says we should go to war, that chemical weapons have been used on civilians. And the UN is asking, where's your evidence? Where's the part of the show where you tell us what you know, so that we tell you what we know, and so on and so forth. And it's just, no one's really come forward with any information as I've seen of late. As of last time I checked on this, which would be yesterday a little bit, and the day before a lot of bit. But no one's really coming forward with anything. The only evidence we've heard is that the Doctors Without Borders have said they in their hospitals they have seen civilians who have been affected by chemical weapons. Now, Doctors Without Borders, for a little history, they're seen as they are completely governmentally neutral. They don't hold one government above the other. They don't report to a government. They are their own organization, such as the Red Cross or something like that. But even more so, they have a very good track record of not identifying with one group or the other. Keeping this in mind, it at least gives us the want to investigate, not necessarily to act, but definitely to investigate and be like, alright, so if chemical weapons are being used, then what do we do about it? Do we go to war? If so, what do we do? I believe the U.S. was planning to bomb yesterday. They were planning to bomb Syria. I don't know if they actually did. I know we were supposed to. I don't know if I want to or not. But this is not about speculation right now. I'll get to what I speculate. But look at this guy. He totally had plenty of chances, and I just juke him right here. I jump out and I jump back in, and he's like, "What?" But anyway, we would be going into this kind of alone because the rest of the world's still really speculative. They're not as pro go in at it as we are, and I agree, we don't need another Iraq, Afghanistan. What we need is to know for sure that when we're going into Syria, that we're going in after a regime that used chemical weapons on its own people, not to spread democracy, because that's not a good reason to go in and bomb people. It's not how democracy works, at least in my opinion. And I hope that the UN finds that there was no chemical weapons used and this all kind of blows over just to smoke. But if chemical weapons were used, now this is where we get into my opinion. In my opinion, if chemical weapons were used on civilians, people who, have no pull to the regime or to the rebels, then should we use deadly force to deal with these people? Here's my take on it. If we're gonna use force, let's just say we're gonna use force, then we need to use force. We don't need to go in half-heartedly being like, all right, well, this is kind of what we were thinking. We're thinking about doing this. We're gonna go. We don't need to be like the UN was in Rwanda, where they went in, but they didn't do anything, like at all. They just kind of stood there. They kind of stood around. We need to go in. We need to do what we say we're gonna do. We're gonna go in. We're gonna topple the regime because they're being bad guys. All right, let's go and topple the regime. Whether I'm for or against it, we need to go and do. We don't need to just not do, I guess you could say. Will we? I don't know. I don't know if we will. Should the whole world get involved? I think a worldly presence in Syria is... See, the class that I'm in, Empires 101, we're talking about what does it mean to be imperialistic? What does it mean to be an empire? What describes that? And it almost sounds like the U.S. wants to make an empire out of the Middle East, which is not going our way. The Middle East has not lost a war in a very long time. Afghanistan's written about in the Bible, something about that, but we're not going to take that as fact. We're going to leave that aside because that's a whole other issue, whether to take that as fact or fiction. And instead, we're just going to talk about what I personally believe we should do if I had complete control over the situation. Now, this is a very American point of view. We shouldn't get involved. In my opinion, if they're not hurting Americans, if no one is asking for our help, we shouldn't get involved. It's that simple to me. We got involved in places where we weren't wanted. Whether or not we went in for the right reasons, that's not the point. The point is, we went in and we messed up. I feel like we messed up. And then we, one, need to take responsibility for that. And two, we need to understand that we're not always wanted and needed. That sometimes look at that clutch. Anyway, sometimes America doesn't need to get involved in everything. That's a very American standpoint, is we need to take care of our own problems, our own way of life, instead of getting involved in other people's problems. Now, as a world power, should we get involved? I don't know. It's a big subject. It's something that can't just be defined. Yes, we should, or no, we shouldn't. There's a lot of different angles you could take. Let me know your own opinion in the comments. Let me know what you think. And I've been Savage Bernie, guys. Peace out.